Gonna say some things in this video that I have never said before. The truth about protein supplements. One of the biggest things that consumers are fooled by is Hey, good morning. It's Christine with Gauge Girl Training, and today we're going to be talking about the truth behind protein supplements. So let's get started. So where do we even begin? There is so much I can say about protein supplements, but I think I want to start with a few qualifying statements of where I get this information from. So you guys do know that I'm a chemical engineer by training. I'm a food scientist, and I have functioned as a food scientist and sports nutritionist for a contract manufacturing dietary supplement manufacturer for over 7 years now. That's the basis of where I get a lot of this information from, firsthand experience. I've formulated thousands of brands that are currently commercially available in stores like Whole Foods, bodybuilding.com, GNC. You would not know that I'm the formulator because a lot of these are private labeled for other companies. So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to protein supplements and the truth about protein supplements. I'm gonna say some things in this video that I have never said before, and I want to do this to help educate consumers about what they really need to be looking for. All right, so the first thing you want to know about protein supplements is this a true protein supplement? One of the biggest things that consumers are fooled by is just because something is in a jar, just because it's got a scoop, just because it's got a shiny, pretty label, and I don't care how many bajillion followers that person that's promoting that stuff has, just because it's in a jar and it's got a lid and a scoop, it does not mean it's a protein supplement. So let me repeat that. It does not mean it's a protein supplement. More often than not, people are confusing something that's a meal replacer with a protein supplement. If something's a protein supplement, you are going to have a higher percentage of protein. I'm going to give you guys a good example. I've never done this and called out names before, but I'm going to do this. So for instance, a very popular product on the market is Shakeology. Now Shakeology has protein in it, but it's actually more of a meal replacer, and it's actually quite an expensive meal replacer at like $129.95 per unit, and I believe that the unit size is like a 2-pounder. And if I'm looking at the supplement facts right now, and it has 17 grams of protein in a 42-gram serving size. So what you want to do is you always want to look at the grams of protein, and you want to look at the grams of the serving size. If the company does not list the serving size, you need to be very careful, and you may even want to run. So for instance, something like Shakeology has 17. I'm going to divide that by 42, which is the serving size. This means this product has only 40% protein. The other 60% of the product is essentially carbs and a little bit of fat. So the thing is, there is nothing wrong with having carbs, because you guys know I follow like macros-based lifestyle, and we'll talk about that more in a separate video. But the thing is, you are paying $129 for something that's only 40% protein. And the thing I think people may not realize is that you could get that macros-wise a lot cheaper in other forms. So number one misconception, if something's a true protein supplement, it's going to be upwards of 70 or 80% protein. The highest percent protein any supplement could have is 90%, and that would be if it's a whey protein isolate for a whey-based protein, because whey protein isolate is the purest form of whey protein. So that's number one. Is this a protein supplement, or is this a meal replacer? And you are wasting your money if you're buying meal replacers. You may not even realize it. Now, if you want a meal replacer, more power to you. You want that convenience, awesome. But I don't think you necessarily need to be paying $130 for 2 pounds of something when you can pay $40, $50 for 5 pounds of something that's nutritionally equivalent. So that's number one. The next question you want to know about protein supplements, the honest to goodness truth, is this legit? I know a lot of people wouldn't even think about questioning whether or not a protein supplement is actually what it says it is, but there have been several lawsuits and cases in the industry where it says one thing on the label, but that does not mean that's what's on the inside. So a couple things you guys need to know about that. The first thing is there is something known as the 80% rule. What is the 80% rule? The 80% rule is an FDA standard. So let's say you're a protein supplement and you're like the maker of that brand. Let's say you're Optimum Nutrition. And let's say for the protein, it says 20 grams of protein per serving. Great. But if you are providing laboratory test data to prove the legitimacy of your product, the amount of protein that you need to be able to prove through testing data, the tested value only needs to be within 80% of that value that's reported. So that means that if your protein says 20 grams of protein, so 20 times 0.8, that's 16. As long as that tests out to be 16 grams of protein or higher, the FDA will be like, cool, you could essentially be 20% short of protein and not even realize it. That's a pretty big deal. I still recommend protein supplements, and I'll explain why. Protein supplements are an economical, awesome source of convenient nutrition as long as you are getting them from a trusted source. So how do you know if the source is trusted? There's a few things. Any protein that you buy from anyone, I don't care if you're buying it from your personal trainer at your gym, if you're getting it from like an Herbalife person, if you are getting it from bodybuilding.com, Muscle and Strength, if you're getting it from me, if you're getting it from whoever you are getting it from should be able to provide you a document called a COA. A COA is called a Certificate of Analysis. Every batch, every lot of everything manufactured has been tested. And if that company cannot provide you with this testing data, you need to be concerned. The next thing is you want to look at the reputation of some of the distributors that product is distributed in. So if you're buying a protein supplement, let's say it's been private labeled by your gym or by your trainer or by your favorite fitness model, awesome. But the problem is, let's say they haven't been distributed in like GNC or bodybuilding or Muscle and Strength or some higher end supplement distributors. It says a few things because the standards to even do business with a GNC or a Muscle and Strength, they require product liability insurance. They require all kinds of COIs, all kinds of legitimate things proving that you're like a legit operation. You definitely want to check and see where else those products are distributed. Now, some companies strategically won't distribute them because they would want to like drive up the margin and just sell them on their website, as opposed to lots of like business reasons for not doing that, and to each their own. There's pros and cons to both, but that's not the purpose of this video. But you definitely want to look at the types of distributors that they're associated with. I don't care like how nice of a guy your trainer is at your gym, and even though he's got like a nice brand of protein and a shiny label and all this and that, you still want to question it and just be like, well, do you have a COA? And like, if he doesn't even know what a COA is, there's a problem. And the next thing I want to talk about is amino spiking. For a second, let's talk about complete proteins and incomplete proteins. So a complete protein is a protein that contains all 9 of the essential amino acids. There are 2 types of amino acids. We all know that protein is the building blocks of life, builds your hair, your muscle, your skin, your nails, all that crazy stuff. Awesome. But there are 9 essential amino acids, we also call them EAAs, that your body cannot make on its own. So your body needs to get those essential amino acids from foods. And because your body can't store them, you're always going to need to be replenished from them. And I will talk about this more on a separate video about what's a complete versus what's an incomplete protein, because something that's considered an incomplete protein does not have all of these essential amino acids. And those things are things like grains, nut butters, peas, legumes. So a lot of vegan and vegetarian protein sources, they do contain protein, but they do not contain all of the essential amino acids. I'll discuss that in a separate topic, but just want you guys to be aware that all protein is made up of amino acids, and not all proteins has the same profile and distribution of amino acids. Why does that matter to you as a consumer? It matters because there are companies, and you can Google this and look up lawsuits for amino spiking. I know Muscle Farm was a big company that got caught doing this. And essentially, if you see any products that has like amino matrix and there isn't like a scientific benefit or a specific way they're trying to build the product to give you like benefits from those things, this means that they're doing this. In a protein supplement, you're intended to get the protein from the like whey or the main protein source. But if somebody's like doping in levels of specific amino acids, they're trying to cut costs, and the product that you're left with, while it would test out having the same exact nitrogen content as the regular supplement, because that's how we test for protein. We test the nitrogen content of all the other macros. Protein is the only one that contains nitrogen. Nitrogen's a good marker. It tells us exactly how much is in there. But you can't differentiate if that nitrogen is coming from the protein itself or if it's being doped in with these amino acids. Now you may say, well, doesn't your body see nitrogen as nitrogen? Is it going to be functioning the same? Yes and no. The thing is, they're using cheap sources of amino acids, things like taurine, things like glycine, because they are cheaper than whey protein. And when they put those in there, it makes the protein score look higher, but allows them to reduce their cost of goods. And the thing is, when you're buying a protein, you think you're getting a complete protein with the amino acid ratio and amino acid profile of a naturally occurring complete protein. But when you start doping it with aminos, it's imbalanced, and it is not necessarily the optimal amino acid profile that you would think you're getting. And I think the ultimate problem with that is just lack of transparency, and consumers are being duped left and right. It's very sad, it's insane, and nobody's really like saying anything about it. So the take-home message here, you guys, is, and I can talk about this some more, I'm not saying be scared of protein powders, I'm just saying beware, work with trusted protein suppliers, make sure that you are checking if your protein is a meal replacer versus a true protein supplement. Again, there is nothing wrong if you get the meal replacer, but just know that you're getting it, because you could be buying like a muscle milk, you're like, okay, cool, I got 20 grams of protein, but yeah, it's a freaking 50-gram serving size. What's that other 30 grams? You know what I'm saying? So think about it. Now, if you're getting 20 grams of protein in like a 25-gram serving size, that's awesome, but the thing is, just think about it holistically. Check the grams of protein, check the serving size. If the serving size isn't on there and it says like 1 heaping scoop and you literally need to go to the front of the label to divide it out, that's like some wishy-washy stuff, and I doubt that label has been audited by a regulatory FDA attorney, and I work with them all the time to make sure that I'm up to date with all of my labeling regulations, because it's actually a very big deal with the accuracy. And if you guys have any questions regarding this, I am happy to be a public resource. So what you guys can do, put some comments below, show me some supplement fact panels. I'd be happy to help clarify things, but don't be afraid to ask questions. If you bought something from a company and you just want some peace of mind being like, you know what, I wonder if this is legit. Ask them for a COA, see what they say. And if they respond to you or like look at you like you got two heads, that's a problem. That's a big problem. So this content is intended to help you. I still recommend protein supplements because they have a lot of great value for your body, for your nutrition. They're convenient, they can be economical, but I just think that you guys need to be aware of making the right choices, and no one's going to lay it out there for you. You need to do a lot of thinking for yourself, and don't fall into marketing traps. All protein powders and all of this stuff, we are all regulated by the FDA. Just because you have the most expensive shiny label and the biggest booth at the Olympia, it doesn't mean that you're any more legit of a protein powder than anybody else. It just means that you're badass at marketing, and more kudos to those people who are good at that stuff, but it doesn't say much about the integrity of the manufacturing. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one. See you guys. Regardless of how much they eat, these are the people that a lot of us envy. Cry me a river if you have a hard time gaining weight. Today we're talking about fat loss for the different body types: mesomorphs, endomorphs, and ectomorphs.